Something inside saying, don't you worry, it's all in good time, no need to hurry.
All right, so Livy, thank you so much for joining me for a yarn today, sis. I really, really appreciate it. You know, the purpose of these yarns is to just highlight deadly people in our communities who are doing great work, and I'm always in awe of the work that you do, you know, for our schools and communities. And I'm really, really honoured, you know, to have this yarn with you today. So thank you, my sister, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm just going to start with just asking you to introduce yourself, sis, you know, who you are and who's your mob, and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my name's Olivia Patten. So I was born and bred here in Sydney, grew up on Gadigal country. It's where I still live today. But you know, my roots are my mum's a Wiradjuri woman, my dad's a Bundjalung man. And I also have extension to the Yorta Yorta people too, on my grandfather's side. So yeah.
Deadly. Thank you, sister. And, you know, can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do? You know, you're an Aboriginal community liaison officer now. What does that involve? What do you do?
Yeah, so you know, basically our roles are there to support. Our main purpose is to support our families and our students in school. As you know yourself, you know, school can be a tough place for our kids. You know, sometimes our kids can struggle in school placement, and you know, it's just like sometimes it feels like our kids are walking in two different worlds. So I think for me, for the role that I do, I find my role is a very important role, to be in there and supporting our kids and our families in schools, making sure that our kids are getting looked after, our teachers are in there fully supporting our kids, you know, and you know, we help educate the staff in schools too, to help our kids be successful in school. So yeah, and also, you know, we help schools connect up to, you know, the Aboriginal community as well, to make sure that, you know, that's been brought into our schools so our kids feel like they belong there. So yeah, yeah, and I love my job. I love what I do because I think it's a very, very, very important role for our people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, sis. So obviously not too long ago, you and I were young people at school there, going to Clego, growing up, you know, Redfern and Waterloo.
Yep.
If you could go back and tell your 15-year-old self one thing now, what would you tell yourself?
You know what? I probably wouldn't really change much of my growing up and my experiences. I think, you know, I think for what I experienced growing up in Redfern, Waterloo, Alexandria, growing up here in Sydney, I feel like, you know, the role that I play today with my children and in my job, I feel like, you know, I can do better in the role that I'm doing now because of the experience that I grew up in, you know, and I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change for the world, you know. Growing up here in Redfern, you know, I was exposed to a lot of you know, that street life, you know, and that's something that you know, that I'm very proud of. And I think to experience that, to grow up in community, and to be able to, you know, talk to my kids about life experiences and to be able to work in the role that I'm doing, yeah, I just think that it's I think that I would never ever change that. But I think one thing that I would probably would tell my 15-year-old self was probably to knuckle down and listen to my teachers and, you know, do well at school. That's one thing that I didn't do. But like I said, you know, I think the life experience that I lived, I think it's important that I can pass that on and to our future, to our kids today.
Absolutely, sis. Yeah. I totally agree. I think we all have a story, and all of our stories are very unique and make us, you know, who we are. And I totally agree there. I guess the stuff that we grew up around, you know, it's made us who we are today.
It does make us who we are today. It's right.
Absolutely. So I guess, you know, we're all in lockdown now. We're in the middle of a COVID pandemic. Social media is, you know, kind of a lot of people having a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Messages of advice around self-care or help, you know, looking after yourself during this time?
Yeah, I think staying active, you know, staying active is really good for the mind and your spirit. Getting outdoors, you know, I try and get outdoors as much as I can. I know that we're in a lockdown. It doesn't mean you have to be locked up in your house all the time. You know, stay connected with your family if you can, even if it's through the Zoom and all, you know, phone calls and stuff. Yeah, and just getting outdoors. Also, just trying to learn as much as you can. Try and just keep that mind busy as well. And it could be by also connecting on Zoom, all sorts of stuff, learning stuff online as well, doing lots of reading. So yeah, just keeping that mind busy. I find that with me, if I stop and I'm overthinking, sometimes that can really damage you. You think too much and negative thoughts can start popping into your head. So yeah, just trying to keep your mind busy and keep your body active.
Deadly, sis. Well, thank you very much. One other thing I wanted to ask you as well, I know that, a big part of our roles is obviously to support school staff around really understanding our history, knowing, about that truth telling and all that sort of stuff. What's your message? I mean, what do you think that every Australian, everyone needs to know about our history? I mean, what's one message that you feel really strongly about?
I strongly believe that the true history needs to be told more, that's happened in this country. And I suppose that's what we do in our roles as well, is, speaking to our staff, talking about that, passing that message on to our staff in schools, especially in schools. That's where, our kids are getting an education. I think one important thing is, if our kids are going to strive in school and they're going to, we want to see our kids finish year 12. And I think that's where it starts. If our teachers have got a better understanding of where our people have come from in this country and what our people have endured in this country, the true history, they get a better understanding of where our kids have come from. Not all of our kids, will have endured it, but most of our families have. And I think that, once our teachers are in schools, have got a better understanding, then they'll work with our kids better. And like I said, one thing that we want to see is our kids thriving in school, getting that education, finishing high school. And even once they finish high school, I think once our kids are better educated, they're more confident to move on and want to do greater things with themselves in life. Whether it's if they don't want to go to uni and study at uni, always just, I think, focus on doing something positive in your life, and our kids have been more confident to become future leaders. And I think that's one thing that we do need to see, and I'd love to see more future leaders, in the future. Seeing our kids in those high roles, seeing our kids, running their own businesses, seeing our kids, in managing roles and CEO roles, and out there, running these businesses and not just working for them. So that's one thing that I'd love to see happen. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's where it comes from, is that truth telling and non-Aboriginal people knowing and understanding us better.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And, I'm a really big believer, sis, as I mentioned before, that our kids need to see what they aspire to be. You're a deadly role model in our community. And, I think the work that you're doing, to really inspire and motivate our kids. There'll be a lot of kids out there that maybe want to be an ACLO when they grow up, or just be a deadly advocate, like you. So, I want to say a big thank you, for all you do.
That's one message that I would send out to our kids, don't stress too much when you finish school. Don't think that you have to have it all worked out, what you want to do. Don't think that you need to go to university to be great and, doing great in life. I think it's like what you said, just focus on the positive stuff in your life. Surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with people that are, that want to bring the best out in you, not the worst in you. And I think that's what the most important thing is. And
no, I think that's a really, really strong message, because I always talk about, success being, it comes in many different forms. Success doesn't always mean, like you said, going to get a university degree. You could be successful in your own light. I think it's really about just finding your purpose, find what you're passionate about. And how boring would the world be if we were all the same? So we need lots of different people out there,
that's right.
sharing our messages and I guess making the world a better place. But
my
sister, I really do thank you for joining my yarn today, and it's been a pleasure as always.
Yes, thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, you go and enjoy your day, and I look forward to yarning with you again soon.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kylie. See you later.